Hello there. Welcome to video 127 from Sumit Academy. I do hope that you have subscribed to my channel. Do subscribe now so that you do not miss out on my previous or future videos. And do remember to like and share this video. And if you want to drop in a line, I shall always be available at sumitacademy20@gmail.com. To make your task a little easier, here is a complete list of all videos available on my YouTube channel. The list is divided into playlists under which they are available. Do have a look. In this video, we shall study about Aajeevika, the National Rural Livelihoods Mission, NRLM, which was launched by the Ministry of Rural Development, Govt of India in June 2011. Aided in part through investment support by the World Bank, the mission aims at creating efficient and effective institutional platforms of the rural poor, enabling them to increase household income through sustainable livelihood enhancements and improved access to financial services. The mission of the NRLM is to reduce poverty by enabling poor households to access gainful self-employment and skilled wage employment opportunities, resulting in improvement in their livelihoods on a sustainable basis through building strong grassroots institutions of the poor. NRLM set out with an agenda to cover 7 crore rural poor households across 600 districts, 6,000 blocks, 2.5 lakh gram panchayats, and 6 lakh villages in the country through self-managed self-help groups, SHGs, and federated institutions, and support them for livelihoods collectives for a period of 8 to 10 years. In addition, it was planned that the poor would be facilitated to achieve increased access to rights, entitlements, and public services, diversified risk, and better social indicators of empowerment. NRLM aims in harnessing the innate capabilities of the poor and complement them with capacities. Now, what are capacities? Information, knowledge, skills, tools, finance, and collectivization to participate in the growing economy of the country. In November 2015, the project was renamed as the Deendayal Antayodaya Yojana DAY-NRLM. Now, the NRLM is based on three pillars. These are: first, enhancing and expanding the existing livelihood options of the poor. Second, building skills for the job market. And third, nurturing the self-employed and entrepreneurs. NRLM gives special focus to the poorest households who are dependent on Manrega. The design of NRLM is more likely to succeed because its implementation is in a mission mode, which enables it to shift from the present allocation-based approach to demand-based approach. This enables states the flexibility to develop their livelihoods-based perspective plans and annual action plans for poverty reduction. It also focuses on targets, outcomes, and time-bound strategies. The monitoring is done against the targets of the poverty outcomes. NRLM has continuous capacity building, imparting of requisite skills, and creating linkages with livelihood opportunities for the poor, including those emerging from the organized sectors. NRLM funds are directly released to the state level agencies based on the detailed district-wise annual action plan. It involves SHGs, that is the self-help groups, in implementation, which increases the likelihood of its success. National Skill Development Council coordinates in the skill development part in the implementation of NRLM. In order to ensure institutional arrangement for skill development for self-employment and wage employment, dedicated training institutes for rural BPL youth, that is, Rural Self-Employment Training Institutes, are being set up with the aim of having at least one such institution in each district in India. These institutes are being set up with the partnership of banks. Let us look at the NRLM guiding principles. First, it states that the poor have a strong desire to come out of poverty and they have innate capabilities. Second, social mobilization and building strong institutions of the poor is critical for unleashing the innate capabilities of the poor. Third, an external, dedicated and sensitive support structure is required to induce the social mobilization, institution building and empowerment process. Fourth, facilitating knowledge dissemination, skill building, access to credit, access to marketing, and access to other livelihood services underpins this upward mobility. The core values which guide all the activities under NRLM are: first, inclusion and meaningful role to the poorest in all the processes. Second, transparency and accountability of all processes and institutions. Third, ownership and key role of the poor and their institutions in all stages. That is, planning, implementation, and monitoring. And fourthly, community self-reliance and self-dependence. The mission aims at universal social mobilization. At least one woman member from each identified rural poor household is to be brought under the self-help group network in a time-bound manner. Now, special emphasis is given particularly to vulnerable communities such as manual scavengers, victims of human trafficking, the PVTGS, okay, particularly vulnerable tribal groups, persons with disabilities, and bonded labor. NRLM has devised special strategies to reach out to these communities and help them graduate out of poverty. Let us see as to how this is being monitored and implemented. At the national level, Ministry of Rural Development is required to provide technical and professional support to the states to establish the mission societies, implementation architecture and systems, and guide them in the implementation and monitor their progress. For this, NRLM Empowered Committee has been set up, which reviews and approves the implementation plans and annual action plans and release the funds to SRLMs. The Joint Secretary or the Additional Secretary Rural Livelihoods leads NRLM as Mission Director and Chief Executive Officer of National Rural Livelihoods Promotion Society, with the Union Minister in charge of the ministry or the department dealing with the society as the ex officio president of the society. NRLPS comprises of multidisciplinary teams of professionals from the open market on contract and requisite support staff to provide wide-ranging professional and technical support to the National Rural Livelihoods Mission and the State Rural Livelihood Missions in the implementation of their mission objectives. At the state level, the State Rural Livelihoods Mission, constituted by the state government, oversees the implementation of all NRLM related activities in the state. An autonomous body under the state government, SRLM is incorporated as a society, trust, or company. State Mission Management Units implements the NRLM activities in the state. A multidisciplinary SMMU team comprising of experts in social inclusion, financial inclusion, livelihoods, program management, program support, etc. support in implementing NRLM in the state. Now, from national to state, Now we come to the third level, that is the district mission management unit is responsible for meeting NRLM objectives and implementing NRLM activities in the district. A multidisciplinary DMMU led by the district mission manager, hired from the open market on contract or on deputation from government, includes functional specialists in social inclusion, financial inclusion, livelihoods, capacity building, program management, program support, etc., and support staff as required. These specialists and staff are hired in a phased manner as required on contract or on deputation. Coming to the fourth level, that is the sub-district level. The support structure at the sub-district level have a block mission management unit led by a block mission manager and consisting of 3 to 5 spearhead teams, or a project facilitation team at the cluster, that is the sub-block level. We now move on to the Aajeevika Grameen Express Yojana, a sub-scheme under the Deendayal Antayodaya Yojana, introduced in the financial year 2017-18. The objectives of this Yojana is to provide an alternative source of livelihood to members of the self-help groups under NRLM by facilitating them to operate public transport services in backward rural areas as identified by the states. Under the program, the Community Investment Fund CIF provided to community-based organizations under the existing provisions of NRLM scheme will be utilized to support the SHG members to operate the public transport services. The states will have two options to implement the scheme. Option 1 is that the vehicle will be financed by the community-based organization out of its CISF corpus. The vehicle will be purchased and owned by CBOs and leased to the self-help group member. The beneficiary SHG member will operate the vehicle on selected route and will pay a monthly lease rental to the CBO. Care will be taken to ensure that the monthly lease rental fixed is reasonable and supports viability of the enterprise for the SHG member. And the cost of the vehicle is also recovered from the member over a maximum period of 6 years. The second option is that the CBO will provide an interest-free loan from its CIF corpus to the self-help group member for purchase of the vehicle. The member will repay the loan over a maximum period of 6 years and bear all the costs connected with the operation of the vehicle, including annual cost of insurance, road tax, permit cost, maintenance cost, and all other running cost of the vehicle, that is fuel, oil, etc. Another sub-scheme is the Mahila Kisan Sashaktikaran Pariyojana. The National Rural Livelihoods Mission promotes the self-help groups amongst poor rural women. These groups require women to save small amounts ranging from rupees 10 to 20 every week, supporting internal loans to group members. However, small savings and loans can have only a limited impact on the extreme poverty of these women, many of whom live in mud houses without access to running water and on very low incomes. Improvements in wealth require addressing households' vulnerability to weather and ill health. They also require overcoming problems associated with the small scale of village markets, coordinated investments in local public goods such as schools, health centers, and sanitation, and significant improvements in the governance of local governments responsible for implementing welfare programs. As is often the case, and as documented in numerous newspaper articles, these local governments frequently benefit only the richer members of the village economy at the expense of the poorest. Further, they rarely confront the social problems faced by rural women that must be addressed if India is to fulfill the promise of democracy. Through support for a federated structure of community institutions, the NRLM attempts to address the seemingly insurmountable challenges. Self-help groups of an average size of 10 women, drawn from the lowest castes and poorest households, residing in close proximity to each other in a homogeneous hamlet of a village, constitute the lowest level of this structure. Approximately 12 such groups are linked together in a village organization comprising the office bearers of the self-help groups within a village. In turn, the leaders of approximately 10 to 20 village organizations constitute the highest level, a cluster level federation that serves as an umbrella institution for its 1200 to 1400 members. An immediate consequence of this federated structure is that no member of an SHG acts alone. She has a group of 1200 women behind her. Yet, sheer numbers may be insufficient to overcome the age-old problems caused by the low social standing of women. Institutional changes that ensure a role for SHGs are required, and the government is slowly initiating such changes, vesting these institutions of the poor with responsibility for overseeing welfare programs, local government institutions such as schools, and village governments. In each village, active women with higher levels of schooling and leadership potential are identified and trained with the set of skills required to ensure the sustainability of the self-help groups. What are these? These skills are bookkeeping, social and group management skills, business management, and financial literacy that many of us take for granted, is it not? Once trained, members of this community cadre assume the responsibility of training other self-help group members. This federated structure of institutions bridges caste and geographical divides, bringing together women to confront social conflicts. They are not democratic. Generally, the most active and outspoken women with higher social standing and education are nominated to leadership positions. But in villages where these institutions are functioning well, the program is changing the nature of civic society. The biggest change one universally noted by women in villages across India, is in attitudes, expectations, beliefs, and knowledge. Women are learning to act collectively, to challenge graft, monitor village government leaders, and to confront endemic problems such as absenteeism amongst teachers and alcoholism. The overall impact of the program will depend on its reach, measured by the number of functioning self-help groups and their membership, and its effectiveness. With regard to reach, data from the ministry's Management Information System suggests that approximately 63% of target households, that is, those meeting at least one of the 7 deprivation criteria as per the socio-economic caste census of 2011, are members of the self-help groups supported by the mission. The percentage is significantly higher in states such as Bihar and Jharkhand, that is 93% in both, where the program started early, and lower in the late starting states such as Uttar Pradesh, where it is only 15%. But for a small sample of early blocks in Uttar Pradesh, however, data reveals saturation rates as high as 73%. More encouraging is that 68% of the self-help groups in the country have been federated at the level of the village organization. 74% report having received basic training by members, and 79% adhere to a set of 5 principles or Panchasutras that will testify to their quality. Now, what are these Panchasutras? Regular meetings, savings, internal lending, repayment, and maintenance of the books of accounts. Enhanced reach, however, does not imply that the program will substantially improve rural incomes and the welfare of women across the country. Change, unfortunately, is never linear, and age-old problems of discrimination against women, particularly those from scheduled castes and tribes, render progress slow. Teacher unions have challenged the authority granted to self-help groups in some parts of the country to monitor teachers' attendance. In other states, elected village governments are contesting the authority of the self-help groups to work in areas that come under their jurisdiction. And in many regions, old divides continue to render collective action difficult. A first step towards ensuring impact is evaluating the program's effectiveness and understanding the factors that constrain its performance at scale. While studies of small pilot programs contribute to our understanding of the detriments of welfare, the effectiveness of large-scale programs frequently turns on implementation constraints that rarely arise in pilot projects. Our ability to significantly redress age-old problems of discrimination against women and enhance their welfare requires societal changes in norms and cultures. India's experience shows that high rates of economic growth by themselves are insufficient to ensure such changes. It remains to be seen whether the visible improvements in civic society engendered by the program in some regions translate to nationwide changes. Our challenge is to ensure that they do. Well, that's all from me in this video. This video is based on the information freely available on the internet. No originality is claimed for the same. The intention of this video is only to prepare candidates for answering examination questions on the subject and not for any financial gains. Do like and share this video and do subscribe to my channel now so that you do not miss out on my previous or future videos. And if you wish to drop in a line, I shall always be available at sumitacademy20@gmail.com. Till later then, cheerio.